Meetings like this one outside Comsteel have been held throughout the region today, and more are planned for tomorrow. By the time all metal workers have attended mass meetings, it's expected more than 7,000 hunter workers will have voted to strike next Wednesday in support of a pay claim. Some meetings of workers took the issue a step further and refused to return to work following the stop work today. The Metal Trades Federation is spearheading a national campaign of industrial action in support of a 4-part wage package. They want a CPI increase equivalent to the September quarter figure, a further $12 in May next year, along with a 3% superannuation payment and a 4% above award increase from January the 1st.
Workers have been the people doing it tough. We're the people, and the workers in the metal industry have reduced their living standards in accordance with the cost of living increases since '83 to try and make the industry more profitable and to get investment in the industry. We've done the restructuring and we've done the 4%. We've led that type of thing in the whole of the Australian industry, and it's now time for the profits that the employers have made in that period of time to pay a bit back to the workers.
For the metal worker on an average wage of $460 a week, this claim represents an increase of $51 per week. But employer groups have warned that that sort of an increase is just not on. The MTIA and Chamber of Manufacturers say the claim is unacceptable. They're willing to negotiate a pay increase as long as it comes as a result of productivity improvements, but refuse to talk about over-award payments. The employers also want any wage agreement to go through the Industrial Commission, a slap in the face for enterprise bargaining. John Church, NBN News.
Who can forget those emotional scenes when Brisbane's Rob Perella outpointed Hong Kong's teenager Mark McMahon for the Commonwealth Gold Medal in Auckland? For the 29th Waratah Invitation Singles Round Robin, Perella is back to his old form, willing the ball along with his colourful greenside antics. Perella's style is accredited with rejuvenating bowls, bringing a younger interest into the sport.
Yeah, I hope I attracted a lot of the young ones to come into bowls, because they thought that bowls was an old men's sport, and well, I'll try to show them that it isn't. It is a young men's sport. If you want to play well, you've got to start young.
Hong Kong's champ Mark McMahon started young. At the age of 21, he's now got 14 years' experience which today outpointed Perella 31-24. There are 8 champion bowlers in the titles, including 6 national and 2 state players. After a complete round of games, the 2 top bowlers will compete on Friday in the finals.
Ashley Gordon from Newcastle. And Mighty Malmaninga from the Canberra Raiders.
Good. This man's got some pace. He shaped the kick. Khan's there. Gordon will score himself. He came on as a sub.
Surfers and sponsors alike were smiling today, and with good reason.
The BHP Steel International is going to be on, it's going to be AA rate, it's going to draw the top, and we're going to have $155,000 in prize money.
Just weeks ago, the event seemed certain to slip into extinction due to a crippling lack of funds. Now, with both Coca-Cola and the City Council pledging $30,000 each, Newcastle will retain its premier sporting event.
It's put the city on the international sporting map, and we get a lot of benefit from it. On the actual Surf Fest week, there's a tremendous amount of business generated by it, and that's why it's worth doing from that point of view.
Still, the contest will have to be run on a minuscule budget, and several local businesses have pledged goods and services free of charge to ensure it remains viable. But while much of the previous hype and hoopla will be gone, the standard of competition is sure to be the best ever. A contest held in Spain earlier this week attracted 29 of the world's top 30 professionals, despite boasting only a single A rating and just $60,000 in prize money. With American Tom Curran still a runaway leader in the race for the world title, the Grand Prix points up for grabs in Surfest will ensure surfing's finest are at Newcastle Beach in November. Bruce Mackenzie for NBN News.
Since it was announced on Friday that the Australian Maritime Authority would not be relocating to Newcastle, accusations have been rife.
But I've had a gut full of the federal government, and I'm not much better with the state government. We were told that people would walk away from us after the disaster, and that's exactly what's happened. I think it's disgusting.
Member for Newcastle Alan Morris believes it's more complicated than that. He has accused the Department of Transport and Communications and senior Maritime Authority officials of fiddling the costs of moving the centre to Newcastle.
I suggest the people who are doing the figures include a lot of people who don't want to come.
Originally, the government estimated it would cost just under $7 million for re-establishing the centre and staff Tenesca House. However, that has now blown out to more than $16 million. Mr Morris says he has studied the estimates and claims they are way out of proportion.
The cost of relocating pets of departmental staff will be $20,000. And there's a whole host of sections and subsections which are absolutely outrageous and ridiculous. The government is justified to be condemned, as is the department, for a system that would encourage and allow such a distortion of costs and expenditures.
Mr Morris says he has written to the Prime Minister about the incompetence of the department and the Maritime Authority and has backed Land Transport Minister Bob Brown's call for an independent inquiry. More than 2,000 Hunter people applied for positions with the authority, believing Federal Cabinet's decision on the matter was final. Now those jobs no longer exist and Newcastle is once again the victim of a broken Canberra promise. Jodie McKay for NBN News.
Right from the outset, Weston got on top and Anthony Beckett's cross was met by Sater and it sailed over the bar. That was followed by a sensational shot by David Miller that shaved the left-hand side of the net. West Wallsend couldn't muster too many raids in the first half, but when they did, they stretched the Western defence, and it was Oberhauser who saved the day. Tony Beckett was in everything, and every time he touched the ball, Western looked like scoring. Score they couldn't, but then the chance to go one up. Chris Benn was brought down inside the box in the 25th minute. Captain coach Dennis King took the penalty, but it was brilliantly saved by Johnny Russell. Undeterred, Western again attacked with Chandler to Ben, and his shot was just wide. 0-0 at half-time, and the sprinters dashed into action while Western and West Wallsend regathered their thoughts. Neither side mustered any real threats for most of the second half, but then Western butchered a super chance, again frustrating supporters. Enter Chris Benn in the 73rd minute. A good flick on by Lorenzo Sater, and Ben made no mistake, beating Russell all ends up. And right on full time, Beckett scored a deserved goal and Weston were through to the grand final against Adamstown to be played next Saturday night.
The three men left Broken Bay for Port Macquarie on Sunday in their 8-metre fiberglass sloop, Flame and Fortune. They battled rough seas all the way, but about 8:30 last night sailed into a wall of water just south of Barooby Point.
They went straight down. The two crew members were still wired into their safety harness, and as the boat went down, they had to unclip themselves and float back up to the surface.
There was no time for a distress call or to activate the boat's emergency beacon. The three men clung to flotation cushions and swam for more than an hour before reaching shore. Exhausted, they spent the night huddled under saltbush before walking for help this morning. A Stockton Caravan Park resident spotted them on the beach.
A couple of them were in shock, and I think they were all wet and cold, like being out there all night, and I just brought them back and gave them a shower and something to eat.
The boat's crew, both in their 30s, are recovering in a local motel, but declined an interview. A battered and bruised skipper was also tight-lipped. Did you get life jackets on or anything like that?
Yeah, we had life jackets on all the time.
The men are all from Inverell and will be met by family members. Their folkboat yacht, valued at $20,000, was insured.
A swag of gold medals in Auckland was fine, but as far as world rankings are concerned, the performance overall was down. Now Australian swimming is hell-bent on getting back to the top, and as a consequence, 10 high-performance centres are being set up around the country. A centre such as Eric Arnold's at the Junction will receive up to $35,000 through the program that is designed to provide money to clubs that are already producing high-ranking performers. The money will help staffing levels, finance to attend higher levels of competition and provide an environment conducive for the swimmers to reach their potential. National coach Don Talbot stressed today that the high-performance centres are not related to the Australian Institute of Sport and there are benefits in that alone.
One of the big arguments against the Institute of Sport, even when I first ran it and we knew this, was that you were taking kids away from the home environment, putting them into something new. It was difficult for them. Now, so if we can keep them here with people they know and help even upgrade Eric and support him, then we're hoping that we can probably have 10 or 12 centres in the country that are producing world-ranked swimmers.
For Eric Arnold, it's something that he's been after for a long time.
It means that we're going to run our elite program, which we haven't been able to afford to run before. With this funding from the government, I'll be able to select probably 15 swimmers, and they're going to have the lot.
Do you feel as though it's a bit of a recognition of your personal efforts over many years too?
I hope so. I really do.
But the bottom line for Don Talbot is pieces of gold in Barcelona.
And there's no question, it's a push for 92, and I think that if we get good performances there, maybe not gold medals, but that's what we really want, then I think the program might have a good chance of going on past 92.
Newcastle is world-renowned as an industrialised city, traditionally working in coal, steel and heavy engineering. Just downwind from the heart of this industry sits the suburb of Stockton. Last year, a university report was initiated by the Stockton community who feared air pollution was affecting their respiratory health, leading to diseases such as bronchitis and emphysema. But according to that report, they've little to fear.
There's no evidence of external environmental changes or pollution causing these problems.
Professor David Christie from Newcastle University studied hospital admissions from 1979 through to 1988 and found that although Newcastle's industrialised areas are more prone to respiratory diseases, this was mainly due to lifestyle and socio-economic considerations.
That it's correlated with things like cigarette smoking. People with less money tend to smoke more than they do. Nutrition is probably not as good.
However, the report notes a significant fall in respiratory problems overall in Newcastle, a drop which is directly linked with improved air quality. According to Professor Christie, living in Newcastle is no barrier to good health, with hospital admissions down on the state average.
federal government's decision not to move the Australian Maritime Safety Authority into Nesca House has created an unparalleled response from the community and from all sides of the political spectrum. Not only has condemnation come from Premier Nick Greiner, but also from the state opposition, with Bob Carr leading a deputation to the Prime Minister next week to discuss the issue. Locally, the strength of feeling has not lessened. Since last night, the NBN Newsline has been inundated with calls, all critical of the federal government and tired of coming out second best.
I think it's a comedy with Newcastle being the butt of the joke. I've always been a Labor man, as was my father before me, but this latest decision by an out-of-touch party has finished me.
I am utterly disgusted with the Labor Party's callous disregard of the people of Newcastle, and although I've always been a committed Labor voter, I will never vote for them again.
The only reason they're treating Newcastle like this is they know they can't lose it. When are the people of Newcastle going to wake up to themselves and realise a safe seat gets absolutely nothing done?
Member for Newcastle Alan Morris says he understands the strong reaction.
I'm quite happy if people can assist that process by conveying their own personal experiences or concern or whatever, because in the absence of the national media taking an interest, then it's back to individuals trying to contribute.
According to the minister responsible, Senator Bob Collins, one reason for not locating the authority here is the asbestos problem in Nesca House. But that's been labelled a poor excuse by the property developer for Shortland Electricity.
It was never a problem for the government. It was always a matter that was to be dealt with by the developer as part of his redevelopment. Unfortunately, it seems to me that the minister has been misled and the asbestos has been made a somewhat emotive issue, and it really was just a minor factor.
On top of accusations from member for Newcastle Alan Morris that the cost of moving the authority here was grossly inflated by the department, it's been revealed that all public servants with the authority were offered a free weekend in Newcastle, even though it was known most would not move here. Jodie McKay for NBN News.
Belmont has been the venue for the past 2 years, and in excess of $34,000 was raised for Ronald McDonald House and also the Heart Foundation. With 160 starters paying $100 a head for the day, it is expected that more than $20,000 will be raised for this year's cause, the Newcastle Rescue Helicopter Service. And once again, a firm that prides itself on its contributions to Newcastle's way of life and sporting endeavours has come to the fore.
We make every endeavour to support these charitable functions. As you know, we sponsor ride-a-thons and fun runs, and we have our own golf day at Belmont each year, and of course we're very happy to be associated as the major sponsor for this big golf day to be held here at Steelworks in support of the helicopter appeal. We're very happy about it.
But the big news for organisers is the appearance of the current New South Wales Open champion and sixth leading money earner on the European circuit, Roger Davis.
It's a fantastic thing that AMP have allowed Roger to come up to support the NIB Charity Day. I think this year, this is our third year, and I'm sure this will be our biggest year ever with him.
A shotgun start at noon will get the field underway, and the general public are welcome to watch the varying degrees of skill from one of the very best to the weekend wallopers. And Roger Davis is not the only celebrity taking part.
We've got a fantastic lineup of people. Kel Nagel, which is a marvellous thing, is coming up to play. Jack Newton will be in attendance. And also we've got Gary Wise, the longest hitter in Australia and possibly the world, will be here to demonstrate some long hits.
Detective Hinton's counsel, Don Geddes, called several witnesses this morning, including senior police officers who testified to Hinton's excellent record and good character up until a series of incidents starting in 1984. Also called Detective Sergeant Jim Young of Newcastle Regional Crime Squad, who denied any knowledge of a Robert Ernest Scott, the figure at the centre of the drugs case which Hinton was allegedly attempting to influence. Detective Young said at no stage was he approached to interfere in the case, nor did he make any approach to Hinton in relation to the Scott matter. Another detective with the Newcastle Regional Crime Squad in 1988, Sergeant William John Henry, also gave evidence, denying at any stage acting inappropriately in relation to the Scott case. Council also called university lecturer in psychopharmacology Dr Murray Shanley to testify to the effect of a number of prescription drugs which the accused had taken for various complaints. Dr Shanley said certain drugs, including an antidepressant, could have an adverse effect on up to 20% of users, which could be amplified by alcohol. Crown Prosecutor Carolyn Devonshire in her final address said evidence from taped conversations and police statements suggested that Hinton hadn't been affected by alcohol at the time of the alleged bribe offers. Mr Geddes portrayed his client as a successful, outgoing man prior to a nervous breakdown in 1984 and a subsequent car accident. He said Hinton's alleged bribe offer wasn't intended to pervert the course of the Scott brief, but was a deluded attempt to gain companionship. Judge Davidson commenced his summing up this evening and will conclude tomorrow before the jury retires to consider its verdict.
Getting ready for the real thing has been hard for the American forces. It's only been in the last few days that Saudi authorities have let them train with live ammunition.
You know, it's a dangerous business, but if you cannot do it in peacetime, then you're going to shoot your own men in wartime.
Within minutes of those words being uttered, an American soldier was down, a victim of friendly but misguided fire. An artillery shell, way off target, exploded near these troops. The wounded soldier was hit in the leg by shrapnel, a minor injury, but an investigation's underway into what could have been a disaster.
We train realistically, but to have an injury is, you know, a little too much realism.
Before a single angry shot has been fired, 16 Americans have died in Operation Desert Shield. 13 were killed in the crash of this Saudi-bound transport plane. The Air Force has lost 1 jet fighter, at least 5 helicopters have crashed. With their debris still littering air bases, commanders complain about the drain on fighting capacity. The live firing practice will continue, but after today's mishaps, the media won't be invited. Meanwhile, with the international media banned altogether from Kuwait, smuggled home videotapes are providing the only real picture of what's going on in the occupied country. The latest tape to be smuggled out by the Kuwaiti resistance movement shows the continued and all-pervading presence of the Iraqi military and the devastation they've wreaked.